right. Well, thank you guys for joining the successful Home Inspector podcast. It's been a minute. I was telling Robert, who is my guest today, and a buddy of mine, that I did it a while back, and I interviewed all my friends, and then I ran out of friends and ran out of stuff to talk about. But now I got new friends, and it's been a couple of years, so a lot of things have changed. But I have Robert with Hope Home Inspections here. How you doing today, Robert?
I'm doing great, thanks.
And he
It's
is
been a
out of
good day.
Sarasota, Bradenton area.
Yep.
What in all areas do you serve, Robert?
We actually go as far north as Tampa, and as
Okay.
far south as Northport. Um, so it's pretty big geographic territory. Probably, I don't know. It depends on traffic, I guess. But you've got a place down here, so 2 hours, probably 2 hours north and 2 hours south.
Yeah,
Uh,
a
I say
lot of
north.
north south. Maybe a little bit east, but you're not going to go too far west.
Right, not going to go far west unless we're doing boat inspections.
Exactly.
And we don't go to the center of the state, so we don't go to Arcadia, and there's a lot of farmland still out there. So
Oh yeah, yeah. When my daughter came down a couple of weeks ago, she wanted to go. We went with. She wanted to go to Miami, and she does TikTok. So we literally were going on a TikTok thing, and we went to Palm Beach, but we went cross country.
yep,
And man, there is nothing. I mean, you could go Naples and go that way. We've done that, but this we went down to like Port Charlotte and kind of cut across. I forget what,
yep,
but man, you're right. Like Lake
yep.
Okeechobee,
Okeechobee and through Clewiston, and nothing but farmland and sugarcane and orange groves, and
and the
yeah,
roads aren't very good shape either. I, I
yeah.
thought I was like back in Costa Rica or something there for a while.
Yeah. Someone actually told me a long time ago. I don't know if it's still true, but in Florida there are more cows per acre than there are in Texas.
Wow. Wow. That might be true. There's a lot of and my place is in Lakewood Ranch, which was quite literally a ranch owned by the Schlitz family, I think. So there's a
Sure.
lot of cows here.
Yeah.
They're still here. I mean, we go down Fruitville. I mean, there's cows on both sides.
It's
But
amazing.
anyway, well, Robert, for all the listeners out here, give us a little background. Tell us, where you're from, how you got into the glamorous world of home inspection, and
Glamorous world of home inspecting. Really, I was born in London, England. Came over here when I was like 22 years old. I worked for a developer, and also I've been serial entrepreneur, I tell people. Um,
right.
but basically settled in Sarasota, Florida. It's to me, it's the best place in the world. I've traveled a decent
I
amount.
love it.
Kind of bounced around the during the housing crisis, the savings and loan thing that caused a big turmoil, and my business actually went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Um, and which I was connected with the furniture business, which is North Carolina. We had a place up in
Yep.
High
Yep.
Point.
Hickory at High Point. Yep.
Got back into doing some construction, and was really doing remodels, and I flipped a house, and um, then a realtor that I knew said to me, would I review a report that another home inspector had done and fix, the issue, whatever it was. And to me, I read the report and didn't really understand what the problem was. And so I phoned the guy and said, hey, like, been asked to fix this, and I don't understand why the whole kitchen needs to be rewired, because all I
Hmm.
see is a busted plug, a busted
Right.
receptacle, you know. And the guy he was really rude. I mean, he said to me, he's like, it's not my job to entertain, not my job to educate your dumb ass. And
That's what he said.
that's what he said to me.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, you don't know me. I'm on the phone. I'm being polite, and
Yeah.
he hung up on me. And
Oh my God.
well, this is weird. That's why I phoned him back and I said, hey, we got disconnected. I'm really sorry. Please don't use the F word with me. You don't know me. And I just want to try and help the people that paid you are going to pay me. So they're our customers. And he was like, we didn't get disconnected. I hung up on your dumb ass. And I was like, oh my God, what a, you know, and I phoned the realtor back and I said, tell me about this home inspection gig. That guy was rude. And she said something along the lines of, yeah, there's a lot of them out there like that. And I was like, okay. So I actually got my license really because of that guy. And my thought was I would do it kind of like a part-time thing. And at the end of my first sort of year, I had like flipped a house. I bought a
Mhm.
bought a fixer upper and restored it, and then was doing home inspections. And ironically, the amount of money that I was making when I sold the house and doing the home inspections was kind of very similar. It was a good year for me because I did both.
Right,
But
right, right,
I
right.
was like, man, the home inspection seemed a little bit easier than the sweat and the on my knees and all that stuff, laying floor and doing that. And so I just thought, I'm gonna charge right in, and that was 10 years ago, 12, well, 2016, yeah. So um, and now I've got a 12-man inspection crew.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So I've got to ask: is the guy who called you a dumbass, is he still around? Do you run
He
into
is
him?
around. I'm not going to tell you his name, but you know him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy, man. That is
It's,
crazy.
I
If it had
actually,
just been nice to you, you wouldn't have all this competition now.
oh, my company's way bigger than his, and yeah, it's kind of funny. I see him at events and stuff, and I'll go up and sometimes even shake his hand, even though that is painful for him because he's just not a really
Remember
like.
me? I'm dumbass.
And I just, I'm kind of like, hey, thanks, and he doesn't know why I'm thanking him.
Yeah. Well, I read a book. Well, when I say I read a book, I listened. I always listen to books, and I see you
Yeah,
have quite a
the
few
same.
good books there behind you. The what's that? Patrick Bet David, and he's got this new book out called "Choose Your Enemies Wisely." And what he talks about is, I, I don't know if it's so much an enemy, but it's somebody. It could even be somebody you admire or an enemy, but it's somebody who makes you better because you want to beat them. And it's not necessary. They may not even know it. You know what I mean? And then once you level up with them, that was his whole point. It's not like you really want to beat them, but it's the thing that drives you to make you better. Then you have to pick an even greater enemy. I don't know if enemy is the right word, rival, and they may not even know it, but so I'm trying to be like you. So you're my enemy, Rob. No, just kidding.
Oh,
Well, let me ask you this.
I like to share, and I believe in the world of abundance, and I think that we get better by sharing and being polite to people, even if we're in competition with them, for business
100%.
stuff. We can help each other, we can collaborate. There's always going to be a time when someone, maybe needs a helping hand, and certainly I've been in those situations where I needed a helping hand. Um, there's been crazy times
100%.
that we've
So
fully booked, and we recommend, hey, sorry, we can't help you, we're fully booked, phone this guy.
100%. And I fully agree with you. And I was just joking kind of about the thing. And
Yeah.
I've had some encounters like that, but they're rare. Let me ask you this in that vein of what would you say? Now you've obviously, so many levels there. You've learned how to build a business, you've learned how to market successful, obviously, and you've learned how to scale. I mean, that's a whole nother thing to it's one thing to become a successful one-man shop, even that's, I mean, that's difficult, but then it's another level to build and scale. So let me first ask you, a guy out there, one-man shop, and maybe they want to stay that way, I don't know, but they're struggling. What advice, and I mean, I know there's all kinds of advice, but what kind of advice would you give to that person?
Well, I think they first of all got to establish what their goal is, you know, because I'm always, you got to have a plan, a 5-year plan. You can run it back 3-year plan, then the 2-year and 1 year, and then you got a tomorrow plan, you know.
Right.
So you got to have that destination you're shooting for. I got to tell you, I would not be in the position if I didn't have such a great partner, because really, Teresa, Um, she's the one that really systematized and organized a lot of the processes, um, to make it, rinse, wash, and repeat.
Right.
And there were sort of watershed moments within, um, for me, like things like the report writer. Originally, Teresa designed a sort of a PDF filler type report writer, and
Hmm.
then we came out and we used that for a long time. Um, and then things like ISN came out.
Hmm.
So, and that was, I
It was
think we,
revolutionary.
yeah, I think we signed on for ISN in, I don't know, 2016 or something, 2017. And for that was like a game changer. That was like a whole nother back office person.
It was like having an extra person. That was the exact
Yeah.
same thing we said. It was like an extra
And,
employee.
and Teresa really tricked that out as far as follow-up emails and getting the contracts online and all that back office stuff. There's way, so I certainly wouldn't be where I am today without Teresa's involvement and because really she did all that stuff.
Now, Robert, were you a one man shop for a while, or how long were you a one man shop before you started hiring people?
Pretty much right off the bat, my son, who was helping me in the construction world, and so when I
Hmm.
was flipping this house, he was working on the house, and they'd go off and I'd do an inspection, and then
Right,
when we got to that kind of watershed moment of saying, hey, there is this is a real business. Hope Home Inspections is a real business.
right.
And then he went and got his license. But by which time I had already built up a sort of a clientele that people were like, they wanted Robert to come do the inspection. And so as he sort of got his license and trained, then there was that transition that we'd do an inspection together. And then next time we saw that agent, I maybe would let William do the inspection and I would just be there, the mouthpiece, because obviously that's what I'm good at,
Me
and
too.
talking a lot. And then eventually, sometimes I would just show up, and then eventually they started calling and requesting William, my son.
Well, you kind of answered my next question. I was going to ask how you wean it because I know a lot of guys struggle with that. They may be a successful one man shop, but they're trying to hire people, but the realtors always want them, because that's who they got. And you've kind of answered that question. So is that how you kind of weaned them off of you onto to your son and then another employee kind
Yeah,
of?
so then I started doing a thing, and really a couple of things happened at the same time. So right at that moment in time, Teresa was going through. She was working for Lennar, the big building, the big builder Lennar, and she really wasn't enjoying that very much. And I said to her, I said, hey, I think there's a real business here, and I'm not going to be able to do this by myself. I think you got to recognize your weaknesses, and um, I can read a spreadsheet and profit and loss statement, and I'm pretty decent at math, but I do get a bit lazy with some of that accounting stuff, So
Me
I'll
too.
do, I'll do with that tomorrow. And she's just not that, so she really came on board as well. And so then boom, straight away it was a real business. And she's answering the phones. Um, you know, so then William was taking over. I would go do marketing. And then I eventually, when I got to the stage of doing 6 or 8 inspections in a week, I knew I needed to hire another inspector.
Right, right.
And then do the same process. I would just go with that inspector, then show up with that inspector, and then not even show up and that inspector, and boom. And so we just kind of went by that 80% rule. When we
Yeah.
were 80% busy,
You need to hire
end up
a
hiring
new.
the guy.
I've always heard that capacity, the ultimate is like 87, 85, 87% because you're not turning away work, but you're keeping people busy, but you need to be looking for somebody new. And obviously, if you're down like 40%, I've been I've been 40%. I've been 100%. I've been all over the place. Then you
Yeah.
start getting morale problems and stuff because you don't have enough work and that sort of thing.
Right.
So tell me, you said you went off and started doing marketing activities. Tell us about that because it was obviously successful. I mean, a 10-person shop is no joke. So what did you do to grow? I mean, obviously the best thing you can do marketing is to do a great home inspection and word of mouth, but to get to a 10-man shop, you were doing more than that. So what and all were you doing?
So I think a couple of things. I became friendly with a couple of fairly influential realtors, and I just went up to them straight and simple, and I said, "Listen, guys, I'm trying to grow my business, and can you introduce me?" And that really helped. I had one realtor literally took me to a big Keller Williams office and just took me door to door. Hey, this is my guy. I like him. Here's his business card. You need to use him. And
Right.
so that was a big help. I got to be honest, though, I think the marketing aspect is still um, the unknown. That if
Right.
someone can really figure out the marketing in the home inspection world, if they can really dial it in, that will be the secret sauce. Um,
100%.
I mean,
And,
we
and, you-
we
and you know,
we
it's
actually
tough
don't
too.
we don't do that much marketing.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't know if here's where we struggle as our company. An inspector, it's very easy in my mind to train, to hold accountable, I mean, it's a very structured, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, this is da da da, and this is success. But the marketing aspect is so many variable different things. And how do you hold people accountable? And it's like going to events, it's social media, it's it to me is a lot less structured than it's harder than the home inspection for me. The whole, like you mentioned earlier, wash, rinse, repeat. I feel like you can do that with home inspectors because hey, this is what we do, this is the SOPs, this is what success looks like. To me, the marketing, like you said, I don't think anybody has figured it out yet where this is exactly what you do. I don't know. Can you speak to that? Do you feel the same or
So I think, so again, I think there's different forms of marketing. So we use Spectora. I mean, you can use ISN. I think that with the automatic emails that go out, I mean, those follow-up emails to the realtors and that's marketing, right?
right?
And we have, Teresa had just completely dialed that in. And now she's trained someone who's every day focusing in, drilling down, you know, looking at the open rate of emails and stuff like that, right? But there's people that rely on Google. They spend a fortune on Google,
Right. Oh yeah, the
and
pay per
we
click or
discovered
pay.
at a very early stage that I did not want to work for Google.
Yeah, because they could cut you off at any. You're dependent on them.
They're you'd spend $1,000 to get $1,000 inspection, or three inspections that add up to $1,000, and that's not making money. So if I spend a dollar, and so again, it's looking at that ROI and drilling down is like I spent, so I make no bones about it. My profit margin last year was 23%.
That's awesome, man. That is so awesome.
And we talked about IEB earlier, and some of this stuff is things I've learned from them. Uh, we've learned from them, but so we look at something and say, if I'm going to spend $1,000, I don't want $1,000 worth of business from that. I want $5,000 worth of business from
Right,
that.
right. Because I want a
And
20% return.
ultimately, I broke even, right? So
Right.
really, I want to get $6,000. You got to
Yeah.
get, and when you start getting really granular with it, it's awesome if you come up on the top of the list for Google and someone hits that button and it just costs you $68 and they want to book an inspection that's a couple of $100. You're not making money doing that.
100%. And I think and I'm not trying to throw shade at other inspectors. I think some inspectors don't realize their true cost of doing business. We get hit up for things all the time, whatever, like sponsor this. it's $500, and and a lot of people look at that, and maybe the realtor will say, well, that's one inspection. I'm like, we
Yeah.
make about 75, 20% profit margin. You've got to do like what, 10 inspections just to get back to zero, not counting the liability. Can you promise me, I'll come back to the realtor. Can you promise me 10 inspections from this just to get back to, well, and I'm not telling people not to sponsor things. You got to pick and choose what works for you. But, and 20% profit margin is fantastic. I mean, I think we were like 15 last year. So I mean, you got to think about everything that you do. What am I truly making money on this, or if you're just breaking even, you're losing money because you're incurring a lot of liability. I
And
mean,
I think realtors are, generally speaking, the successful realtors are business people as well. And so if
right,
you have that realistic conversation with them, they suddenly have a like, oh yeah, well, you're right. And no. And so maybe I need to look at a different sponsorship, or hey, can I do this with a mortgage broker and an insurance company? And can we split that cost? That type
100%.
of thing. And I want to support you, I want to help you, and whatever the event is. And we've been approached of all sorts of like client appreciation. And I'm
Oh,
like,
it's
how many of those
worse.
clients did we do home inspections for? Well, two of them out of 50. I'm like, yeah, like, I don't
Well,
appreciate
and,
the
and people only buy a house every 5 years, so they
yeah.
just
So
bought a house. It's gonna be 5 more years.
I think if you look at it from that financial aspect, then it's a lot easier. You don't have to say no, like, and slam the door. You can say, this is my math. You understand me.
Right.
How can we make this work?
Yeah, and not only that, think about who you're talking to. You're talking to a real estate agent. What do they do for a living? Well, this is my offer, which is usually lower. And
Right.
this is what we come back. And the other thing, and I didn't know all that early on going on. I thought it was either all or nothing. And then at some point I realized, wait a minute, we can negotiate this stuff. And you show them that. And then the other thing I have to educate them on, all vendors aren't the same. I mean, home inspectors are on grocery store margins. When
Right.
you're talking to a lender, they get a 1% origination fee, Robert. So, $500,000 house. What is that?
Yeah.
That's like $5,000. That it may be more than that.
Yeah.
My math's a
Five
little
grand.
off. Yeah, but we made $670 on the inspection. Or we didn't make that. That's what we charged. Out of that, we made 20%.
Right. You
Um,
made you made $120.
exactly.
So, and at the end of the day, that's a healthy margin to, you got to be in the 15 to 20% range to be able to support, you know, new equipment and the back office, and and have a good solid business, because there's going to be lean times when you've I mean, look what happened with COVID. They shut us down for like weeks on end. Well, you
Yeah.
know, you got
So
to
that
have
would be my advice to the new guy would be like, think about your true cost of doing business. I mean, if you're and if you can make 15 to 20%, you're stellar, man. You're in all-star category. But, we don't sell a super high price product. I mean, these people are putting a new roof over here. I'm sure that's like $45,000 job. And this is a little I mean, every once in a while we sell an inspection over $1,000, but our average is like what is it, 680, and I'm proud of that. Oh, what do you know what your
yeah,
average is?
yeah. In North Carolina, well, Florida is one of the lowest priced inspection states according to Spectora.
Is it
Um,
really?
yeah, our average home inspection is right in the 700 range.
That's good. That's good.
Our average inspection, because we have these insurance inspections down
The
here in
wind
Florida,
mits and things like
limits
that.
and 4 points, and there are inspectors out there doing those for $50.
Oh,
They're
they have
crazy.
no idea. And again, I'm not hating on somebody. I'm not
No,
going to get on these. I see on these forums people just I mean, hey man, I am a libertarian and I'm a capitalist, so I'm all about. But it's not sustainable. I mean, I wish I could talk to them and not because they're either going to get sued beyond what they can cover, or it's just not a sustainable business. I mean, charge what you want to charge. I mean, I'm not mad at you, but I
Well,
don't know if you're educated on what your true cost of business
yeah,
is.
they're selling themselves short really because what they're doing is they're going a decent going rate for that inspection is 150 to $200.
Right.
And there are people that, and we're one of the companies that we get them on a regular basis, and we can do. One of my inspectors will do 4, 5 of those type of inspections in a day because they're relatively simple and they're quick. And
Right.
and so 175, $200 is kind of what we charge. And so the guy that's charging 50 is just he may as well just pile money up and burn it. Because if he did a bit of a survey and realized he doesn't have to charge $50, he could charge $120,
Yeah.
right? And
And
good.
even at 120, you would still. I know. You know, I know what somebody starting out is wanting to do. They're wanting to go a little bit lower to get some business because they haven't established themselves and they're hoping that you know the lower price. But he doesn't even need to go to 50. He could go to 120. He would still be the lowest guy. He's
Right,
really cutting himself
exactly.
short.
So it's yeah, I mean, but to everyone their own. I mean, that's one of the another issue I think with the scalability of home inspection businesses is that it's a relatively low bar to cross to become a home inspector. I mean, if you've already driven a pickup truck and you've already got a ladder and boom,
It's
you
a
just
low cost to get in this business. I mean,
right,
compared to if you're going to open a store of some type, you have to buy a building or lease a building, and you have inventory, and there's going to be a lot of fixed cost. There's not a whole lot of fixed. There's going to
no.
be a lot of fixed cost and variable cost, and there's not in home inspections.
And
That's
so
why it's easy.
I'm trying to educate inspectors. So we're at the scale now that we always are interviewing. We're always advertising, always looking for people. We're trying to grow the territory. Um, so always if you're trying to grow, you got to be interviewing all the time. And
100%.
we have a bench of people that are waiting, for timing to come on, and a couple of guys in training right now. And training's not 100% success rate. Sometimes you realize that that guy that you interviewed that was all that turned out to actually have issues. um, so yeah, there's
Yeah,
got to
there's no secret sauce to that. I mean, I've had people that interviewed great and turned out to be terrible. I've
yeah,
had people who've interviewed great and turned out to be great. I've had people who interviewed terrible and turned out to be pretty decent. Now I've had every combination you can imagine. So there's no telltale thing. But one thing I have figured out, and it was exactly what you said: always be interviewing. Do you know that, Robert, my best hires always came when I really didn't need somebody? And my worst hires came when I was desperate for somebody.
right.
Has your experience been similar?
Yeah, we've definitely hired in desperation. When we've been a couple of years ago at 100% capacity, and nothing more frustrating than that, being turning people away. You've got your best realtor team that you did 150 inspections for last year, and they phone up and yeah, we can do your inspection in 2 weeks. And they're like, I'm going to the next guy. And all of that sort of rapport that you built with them gets then questionable. And yeah, so you got to have, but yeah, then we hire somebody and turns out that you know it wasn't a good thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let me ask you this, Robert, for the people, the listeners who are, trying to grow their business, trying to, jump from one man to two man or three man, whatever. Well, this would be the normal time when I would be hawking something, right? That I do the podcast or whatever, and I'm like, well, I got to do something to finance this or whatever. I don't really have anything to hawk. I am working on a book. It's called "Be the Elephant in the Room." So if you got anything out of this podcast, do me a solid and buy that when it comes out. Still working on it. I'm about 5 chapters in, so I don't know exactly when it's going to come out. But now that I put it out into the ether, I have to do it right. But thank you for listening to the podcast. In the meantime, if you got anything out of this, two things. Not inspection related. If you want to give me, I'm trying to give value. If you want to give me some value back, follow my daughter. She's a social media food influencer. It's Sarah Margaret Sandlin, Sarah Margaret Eats, or check out my art website, prestonsandlin.com. But trying to get a book together and love to interview more home inspectors. Just home inspectors helping home inspectors. So anyway, thank you guys for watching and talk to you soon. What does your training look like? I mean, if somebody started with you tomorrow, I mean, how what's that process look like? I always say, I want them to go from being a fly on the wall during an inspection to the point where I'm the fly on the wall with you. Now, what's that process look like for you? Is there a
Just
structure to it, or is it
for
different for
us,
different people?
even if a guy's like, I just had a guy interview with us. He is a home inspector in upstate New York,
Okay,
and he's working for somebody else, and he's moving down here. His wife's got a job at the hospital, and seems like good guy. But so he already knows Spectora, and right. So there's one type of person, and then we have someone that's brand new. They just got their home inspector license in the state of Florida, and they've never done a home inspection in their life. Um, you know, but both of those candidates, both of those people go through the exact same process. It's 12
okay,
weeks on day one. It's a ride along. You're just sitting there next to an inspector, and you're just observing
fly on the
for
wall. Yeah.
you're just observing for I believe it's a 2 week period. You're just observing. And
Okay.
then we don't even give you a phone with the app on it, because what we found is that those inspectors, the minute you give them the phone, they stop looking around and they just looking down. That's all they're doing is looking at the app,
Oh, that
and they're
makes
not
sense.
looking for the stuff, right?
Right, right, right.
And then go through the process
Give them an
and
outlet tester, a little bit
right.
in, and a
And,
flashlight, and have them do part of the
and
inspection or something.
and again, I think the thing that we've really done a good job with is making it a system. So when you show up at a house, they have developed a pathway that basically go to the front door, take a picture, go to the garage, take a picture, go around the outside of the house from right to left, in a circle. You do that twice. Then you basically are either going to go into the house and you start at the kitchen and then literally go around the house in a direction. So it's a system. And
Right.
then they start to build up this sort of muscle memory of, oh, okay, the next step is the kitchen, or the next step is the bedroom one, or then it's bedroom two, bedroom three, then bathroom one, then bathroom two, then bathroom, and they just get this routine going
Right.
and training through. But it's a full. Even if the guy's already done 200 inspections, they're actually the harder people to train, because you got to break all the old habits and all the things that
100%.
you used to do up in New York. And we don't have a basement, guy. You just stop looking for the basement door, because we don't have them. They call that a swimming pool in Florida. And
Well, yeah, we don't have basements. Our basements are 3-car garages. That's what that's a southern basement. To
so
store stuff.
it's trying to build that muscle memory, and going through, and in 12 weeks we've done a pretty decent job of it. Um, but
100%. You know what I call, like what you said, like a guy who's already an inspector, or maybe he's done it as well, or somebody who's brand new. I call it free agent or building through the draft. And I've had success and not success in both. Sometimes you get somebody that's been doing it, and it's really hard for them to unlearn some
mhm.
things that they've done, or some new, or when I used to do it, we did it on carbon paper and da, da, da. And I'm like, well, we use computers now.
Yeah,
Like,
that's been the most difficult or the most challenging, should I say, is it breaking the old habits.
but now some
Uh,
of those guys are good though. Some of them, their knowledge is tip top, and some guys have tried it on their own, and they're good in it. First of all, let me say this. You have to wear a whole lot of hats if you're a one man shop, man. You've got to be a technician, you've got to be a marketer, and you've got to be an administrator. And it's a rare person that can be good at all three. I don't think that would be a unicorn, actually. I don't think anybody's good at all three. And it
and
would be
that's why I
hard.
think, that's why I would say to somebody, join a team like your team, or join a team like mine, because if you, again, I can show the math to somebody that makes sense of why you'd want to work for me. I mean, we offer a 401k, medical plan, company car, paid vacation, uh, overtime pay, so many other benefits to working with our team, paid sick time.
You can go on
Uh,
vacation.
yeah,
You know how hard
and
it is to go on vacation if you're a one man shop.
exactly, and that actually happened to me. The guy, the agent that introduced me to a bunch of people. I mean, I think I was doing an inspection a week for him and his team, and I went on vacation down at the very, very beginning of business. It was kind of went down to the Keys, and I answered the phone, and I was, "Hey, Gene, how you doing?" And he's like, "I need you to do an inspection." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll be back in town like in a week. I'll be back on." It wasn't even a
Needs it
week. I think
tomorrow.
he phoned me on a Thursday, and I think I was going to be back in town on Monday. And he was like, "We can't. What? Well, like I need it. I need you to come on Saturday." And I'm like, I'm in Key West. I'm not going to come on Saturday. And well, have a good day, babe. Click. And then I didn't hear from him for like 7 months. And I phoned him up and, "Hey, Gene, what happened? I haven't heard from you. Are you doing okay?" And it was like a health check I was doing on him. And
Yeah.
he was, "Oh, this is great. Everything's good." I'm like, "Well, how come I'm not getting any inspections?" He said, "Well, I went to the second man on the list, and he's been showing up and he's been doing it. But when he goes on vacation, I'll phone you."
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
if that was hard.
It
That was
taught you a lesson. Yeah.
hard. We do inspections for him today. Um, but yeah, you've got to one man band is tough. It's tough.
It's tough. And I'm sure there's folks listening to this that are one, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there's pluses and minuses, I guess. I always say that. There's pluses and minuses to both.
Look,
But the
another thing to
minuses,
say
oh, go ahead.
about one man band. So I interviewed a local guy. He's a neighbor actually, and I was chatting with him, and he's knocking it out of the park. I mean, the guy's doing 12 inspections a week, right? He's got a
Well,
really good following. He's working his tail off. He's making a ton of money.
he has no life, though. I
But
can tell you
his
right now, I
son,
don't even know the guy, and I can tell you he has no
right?
life.
His son is a high school football player,
Mhm.
and he didn't go to
He can't
one
go to the
high school.
games.
He did not go to one high school football game. And I'm like, "You'll never get that time back. Now you've got, 100 grand in the bank or whatever. Lucky you, but you'll never get that time back when your son was playing football." And he's like, "Yeah, but I can't." It's almost like he's addicted to drugs almost. And I've actually had that conversation with a couple of one man bands where they can't go home. They're gonna do three in a day sometimes.
Well, I was a one man band for about 6 years before I hired somebody, and I was the same way, man. I was doing 2, 3 inspections every day and Saturday, and I was making money. I mean, I was making a lot. I mean, for one, you don't have a whole lot of expenses when you're a one man person, but like you said, man, and I had small children, at the time, and I had no life, and I was, up till 1 o'clock in the morning doing reports, and I was just like, something's got to change, man. Something's got to change. And
Yeah,
actually, kudos to Arvel. He's one of my competitors. I saw that he built a business. He had like 6 inspectors at the time, and I know Arvel, and I was like, I like him, and I was like, I have a master's degree. Nothing against Arvel, but I think I'm at least as smart as he is. Like if he
right.
can do it, I can do it. And one time he said something to me too that 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 resonated with me, or he said it in a meeting or something. When a lot of people don't want to hire somebody, but because it's like, it's going to cost you money to hire somebody, and you feel like you're going to lose some money. And it was like, would you give up 10 or 20% of your money to get 100% of your time back? Yeah, yeah.
So one thing I know that William, my first hire, if you like, for the first probably 3 years, maybe even more than that, 3 or 4 years, he made more money than I did.
Yeah.
And I would say the first probably 3 or 4 inspectors I hired probably made more money than I did.
That's great.
You get to
Yeah,
that
and
point.
you have a win-win mentality. I mean, same way. I mean, I got guys who've been with me 15 years. I
Yeah.
mean, I want them to win. I
Yeah.
want them guys to make a lot of money. I
Yeah.
mean, I definitely believe in that win-win, not win-lose or anything like that. And it sounds like 401k, vacation. I mean, you have the same mind, and I know you. I know you and Teresa, and I know y'all have that mindset. How does it, for folks listening, as far as like management and that sort of thing? How often do you meet with your guys? Do you guys have like an inner communication type channel that you guys use, or to talk to
Yeah.
each
So
other? And
we just use Slack
okay,
as a team. So everybody has a Slack channel, and there's teams of inspectors. So we have a sort of a organizational chart where there'd be the ideal situation is like 5 inspectors and then a like an inspector team lead. And
like
then
geographically grouped, or
yeah, so
or
we have a north group and a south group. It's actually one of our guys recently left, and so it's changed a little bit at the moment. It's a little bit of limbo. One guy stepped up to actually manage both teams, but we're looking to promote from within. We have a couple of people in training right now, and so there's a couple of guys that are going to move up the ladder.
so the team leader, it makes a little bit more than the is that what I'm
Yeah,
hearing? And
yeah. So it makes a
he
little bit
obviously
more
has a
money.
little bit more responsibilities and whatnot.
Yeah, it does a few less inspections because he's also he's training somebody. He's reviewing reports for people. We spot check reports once you're in the field. That we, so you got to spot check reports and there becomes more sort of back office clerical type stuff, looking at
Gotcha.
time cards and um, mileage driving, because we all drive company cars, so we're looking at there becomes some clerical stuff. So I have a service manager that manages the whole team, um, really through his team lead or team leads. Ideally,
Hmm.
there would be 2 of them at the moment, and then there would be the 10 inspectors. So
Gotcha.
for
Gotcha.
every 5 inspectors, there's an inspector team lead, and
Uh,
then and then the idea is for every 5 team leads, when we get there, there's going to be one manager of that division.
gotcha. Do you guys have like a meeting every month, or do
We
y'all
have a
do, or
meeting,
do
an
you have a training,
inspector
yearly
meeting.
training?
Yeah, we have an inspector meeting every 2 weeks in person.
Okay.
We do have a physical office location where I'm sitting, and so people come to the office on a regular basis. And then I have a daily huddle meeting with the service manager, the operations manager, um, and myself. That's 15, 20 minutes every morning, 5 days a week. And then we have a meeting uh, every 2 weeks between the team lead, service manager, operations manager, and myself.
That's cool. I want to come work for you, Robert. If I retired and moved out here permanently so I could get no state income
It's
tax.
like, you got more hair than me.
I'll tell you what, Florida doesn't have state income tax, but boy, they get you on the property tax.
Oh my word, yeah, yeah. They're talking about abolishing that. But
You know where else they get you? This is going to be off topic for a second. And I know we're winding up here. But so, for you alluded to it earlier. Meg and I have a place down here that's kind of like we're empty nesters and part-time snowbirds and that sort of thing. Well, we go to the gym, and apparently there's a school right there, the Cardinal Gibbons or
Total money.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of Mooney. That's it. Yeah, Gibbons is where. But you know, what I didn't realize, or Meg didn't realize, and we have our mail forwarded. So it goes, bounces to our house back home, and then comes back. It takes a while to get here. So, well, she didn't realize there's a camera speed light there. You know where I'm going with this. And so all of a sudden it's like, and she doesn't speed through a school zone, but apparently they have a speed even when, like back home, the school zone is only like when the school's opening and closing. But
Hmm.
apparently, this camera's on all the time. And if you drive, I think it's like 20, whatever. So neither here nor there, she got a speeding ticket. And then a couple of days later, she got another one. And then she got another one. And it's like, dude, they're coming in the mail. Like, and like, so Meg said, if I would have known the very first time, I would have like, we don't know how many she's going to wind up getting. Because there's like about a
Oh, Meg.
3 month lag time. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And so it's like, now I know somebody listening would be like, well, you shouldn't speed. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. But if she would have actually been pulled the first time, she would have never done it again. But because it's taken 3 months
yeah,
to
yeah.
find out about this, now we don't know how many tickets she's gotten. I mean, they're $100 a pop. We're up to
Oh,
like
yeah.
four or five
And I
hundred. I
tell
mean,
you,
$500 already.
Lisa will tell you a story about she got a ticket for something. I don't remember. This is a long time ago, and it got forwarded to the wrong address, so that Teresa never got it in the mail and
Right.
didn't even know, right? And one day she parked at a city car park and ended up with like a parking ticket. But it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just a regular parking ticket. It was like a your license is going to be suspended. It was like a $400, some ridiculous amount of money. And she was like, I don't understand what this is about. And where you have to go and pay that in Sarasota, this woman sits behind like bulletproof glass, you know,
People coming there, they're mad.
ready to talk to you. They like put the money, just put the money through the slot. And Teresa was like ready to, head to explode. And it was all based on this ticket that they had like suspended the registration on the vehicle and suspended her license. And then
And
what
she
through
never knew
all the
about it. I
proof,
mean,
and she never even knew about it.
yeah. I can tell you one other story. I know we got to get to it. I got one last section here, but
Yeah.
so the same thing with the IRS. I hate to bring those guys into this, but so apparently there was something on my 2019 taxes that they decided that I owed a certain amount of money, but they didn't tell me till last year, and they charged me fines and interest. Boom, 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 like was accumulating, but they didn't tell me until 3 years later. And I'm like, so now this thing's a lot more, which if I would have known about it then, I would have paid it right away. It's like, again, I'm not trying to act, but there's something
Yeah.
wrong when what you owe is growing because you don't know about
Yeah. You didn't
it.
even know it
And
existed.
yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if I knew about it and I just kind of blew it off, but I didn't. But anyway, I know
Yeah.
now that we've gone totally down a rabbit hole. I do have to say something to all the listeners out there that I forgot to mention that I meant to mention when you were talking about marketing. For those of you who don't know, Robert is a master at marketing, and he has these tube dudes on the back of his trucks. Tell us a little bit about that. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I think that's just awesome.
So there's a local artist. I actually have a small one right here. I don't know if you can
Yeah,
see
that's awesome.
it good. But I have one that's man size on a tray on the hitch of the back of their trucks, and it's a
It's
lot.
like a
They're made out of tubular steel.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like a guy with a for because some people may be listening to this. That
I-
it's like a big life size guy, metal tube guy, smiley face. I say it's like the metal version of the Life is Good guy. The Life
yeah.
is Good t-shirts,
So,
and he's
so
got a magnifying glass on a house. So
yeah. So
anyway, go ahead. I didn't mean to steal
if
your
you look
thunder, but
up, there's he's a local artist that makes them. It's called a tube dude.
yep, yep.
and
And they're all over Sarasota.
he has the, like you say, the round smiley face, and he has that trademarked and copyrighted and stuff. And so I did a business deal. He actually wanted to buy a trailer from me at one stage, and he couldn't afford it, so he made me the first one, and um, then I bought three, four, five. Now I've got 12 of them on the trucks, and so then we got it trademarked and copyrighted as well, just because it's such a good little neat
Oh, it's
emblem.
awesome. It's the coolest thing. I mean, you see them riding around. In fact, I don't know if I told you this. I saw uh, one of your trucks, one of your guys. We were going to the beach a couple of weeks ago, and I pulled up to see if it was you. It wasn't you, and I was like, if I beeped at him, he will not know who in the heck I am. He'll probably give me
You'd
the
be,
finger or something.
you'd be surprised. I mean, people, I've actually went back in the early days when it was me answering the phone. I had a lady behind me, and she's literally behind me dialing my phone number and booked an inspection because she saw the two dudes. It was really good. They're good marketing, and that's, to me, that's one of the things that we do.
You got a
Marketing.
billboard. You got 12 billboards right
I
around
got
town.
floating everywhere, all around town, right? These people that drive their unmarked pickup truck, and because they don't want to be seen, or it's crazy. So that is there's a real cost attached to that, and really, I put that cost against the service department, but really I should put a portion of it towards the marketing budget, because my marketing budget is very low. I
Yeah,
spent less
that's
than less
awesome.
than 4% on marketing last year.
I've tried to figure out how I could, in that same vein, you know how like you go to Vegas and you see these basically these box trucks that have LED all the way around them. I was like, if there's some way we could put LED or something on the back, now of course it couldn't block brake lights or anything like that.
Right.
Uh, but in the same vein, I'm like, man, you've got basically billboards riding around. Why not take advantage? At the very least, wrap or you know, signs, but
Yeah,
definitely.
something to let people know. I mean, I say to people, if you're a one-man band and you have aspirations of, be professional, dress for success, show up in a uniform, be consistent, you know. But I know people are, I know you've got, you're known for the crazy pants thing.
Yeah, that's kind of my
But,
shtick.
Walmart spent a lot of money working out that khaki pants and blue shirts is just easy, calming, cool. Um, so like
That's what our
think about
guys
your
wear.
image.
My my joke is when I go present and I talk about, I say the crazy pants are just for marketing. I said, don't worry, the inspectors don't wear pants. I mean, they don't wear these pants. There's always a
Right.
joke. All right.
Right.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time. So let me go through this quick little fun thing and I ask you one more question. So
Sure.
this is called a game called This or That, Robert. I'm going to give you two things and you got to pick one. So it just kind of fleshes you out a little bit. iOS or Android?
Uh, Android.
Hey, I'm an Android, but majority of the people are iOS. My whole family's iOS. Uh, I think I know the answer to this for you. Are you a smartwatch or an old school wristwatch guy?
Or how about no watch?
Yeah, but I've seen you. You got a
I
Breitling,
would
don't
be
you?
old school. I would be an old school watch guy. I don't generally wear one during the day, but yeah, I would be an old
I'm
school watch guy.
same. So here's
Yeah.
my next question specifically for you: Breitling or Rolex?
So yeah, I think I would go with the Breitling. The long time ago, someone told me that rich men drive Rolls Royces and really, really rich men drive Bentleys.
Really? Hmm.
So,
So it's sort of like that with the Breitling versus the Rolex. You
yeah,
think?
I mean, I love Rolexes, don't get me wrong. And I have one, but they're a bit, you don't want to be showing up to a home inspection wearing one.
Not in certain
Definitely
parts of
think they have a
town.
pain you. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a little bit beyond that now. It's a bit show offy.
Yeah, I'm with you. Um, would rather wear tennis shoes or flip flops?
Flip flops.
You live in Sarasota, so I know the answer to this one: mountains or beach.
I would be beach, but I love the mountains too. So
Um, would Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
yeah, see now you're going to get me on sports, and yeah, I
You're not a
guess
sports
Michael
guy.
Jordan. I like the movie. His story, I think, is really cool. I
Yeah.
think he's an incredibly smart guy.
All right. I bet you can answer this one though. Hopefully Teresa doesn't listen to this. So Ginger or Marianne?
Again, that's an American program. Probably
Gilligan's
Ginger.
Island.
Probably Ginger.
Ginger. Nice, nice. Most people go for Marianne, but Ginger, Brightland, Teresa, I could see it. I could see it. And the most important question of all, the toilet paper question: over or under? In other words, beard or mullet?
Oh, it's got to be over.
Right.
It's weird if it's
That,
the other way.
that's what a majority of people say. Although I have had a couple people say that if you have cats, you got to do it under because if it's
Oh,
over,
because
they'll
yeah, yeah,
track it all out.
I get
So
it.
my very last question of every podcast is: what is the craziest, weirdest, or craziest thing you or one of your guys have ever, and remember this is a G-rated show, I told iTunes, that you've ever found or seen or heard of on a home inspection?
I'm going to tell you two things one thing well, both of them blew my mind. One is I actually saw jumper cables running from um, power lines to a house that
Oh,
didn't have a meter on it.
wow.
I mean, it's straight out like that
I'm
was right,
surprised it didn't burn down.
right, which just, I saw that and that blew my mind that they had jumper cables to put the power to the house. And then I saw in an old house where they had added an additional elevated foundation and they literally dug a hole and put a 55-gallon plastic drum in it and then had the toilet just go straight into the plastic drum like their own septic
Oh my
system.
gosh.
We crawled under the crawl space and it was like, man, it's really bad. They must have a busted. It was an old house. I assumed that they'd had a busted cast iron pipe, and it was just like a 55-gallon drum that I'm assuming they had drilled a bunch of holes in
Mhm.
and just had this PVC drain from straight from a toilet and a shower went straight into it.
That is crazy. Well, I have to tell you, and I'm not trying to be like, well, let me tell you something, but that you made me think of something years ago. I was inspecting a house. I mean, it was probably 15, 20 years ago. So I'm crawling under the house, lots of crawl spaces in Charlotte. And all of a sudden, like this big area, and I get in this stuff, man. And I don't know what it is. It's like white and it's like grease. What the hell? I mean, I've crawled in a lot of crawl spaces, and I'm like, I've never encountered this. Like, what is
Right.
this? Is it some type of fungus? Or I don't know. And I like can't get it off of me. And I mean, this house was horrible, and there's a rat and everything else in there. And I came out, and I was like, what the hell is this? And then I noticed this house was like a home base for several of these food trucks that go out to construction sites. I mean, they were running a business and they were, cooking up all this stuff to put on the food truck. Don't ever buy from one of those food trucks. It's a nasty house with roaches. So, Robert,
Right.
what they were doing was all the grease from that, they were just pouring it straight into the crawl space. So
Ah,
that was just like congealed grease, Crisco, animal fat, whatever you want to call it. And of course, I wrote all this up. And man, if that house ever caught on fire, I mean, it would be like the grease fire from hell. I mean,
right.
it was just crazy. I still remember that. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies thinking about it. But
Yeah. Surprised
it,
it wasn't all that full of maggots and stuff.
I think there was, it was just, it was. If you said top five worst houses, that would be in the. It would
Yeah, we
it would make the Hall of Honor, I'm sure.
definitely home inspectors see some crazy stuff.
I
Crazy.
just wish that back when I first started, Robert, we didn't have all these phones and video cameras and stuff. I mean, when I first started, man, we were taking Polaroids, and then and then we started taking the Sony Mavicas and stuff, but we didn't have video. Man, if I could have videoed some of that stuff, I'd have the best material. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
well, I've held you up too long. I know Teresa is waiting on you. So
yeah.
for everybody who's listening out there, if you got value from this man and you know you did, go to his Facebook page and give him some likes and love. I think that helps out. Is it Hope Home Inspections? Is that
Yep.
your Facebook page?
Yep. HopeHomeInspections.com. And actually, my tube dude has his own Facebook page. His name's Harry Hope, and
Okay.
you'll see a picture of him there and stuff like that. Yeah, love to
Give him
share
some
stuff.
likes,
It
some
helps everybody.
shares. Are you on Instagram or any of those Home Inspections?
I'm a little so I'm a lucky guy. I have a Tristan that's our operations manager, and she's on top of all that stuff. I'm not a real big Facebook guy, but the company you have to be in this day and age, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know,
Well, everybody who's listening, if you got value from him, go like his page and follow him and stuff. That'll
I
help. So
appreciate that.
my final ask of you is, Robert, if somebody heard something here today that resonated with them, or they wanted to find out more about you or ask you about something, would you be willing to? And can they email you through your?
Absolutely. I'm always interested in sharing with people. We talked about this before you started recording, that I like explaining things that maybe we're doing to somebody like, hey, here's a good idea. And then when I'm explaining it, I'm realizing that I'm not doing it really quite as good as I said I was doing it. And so then I come back, it helps stimulate my brain to come back and try and refine the process a little bit more. So I like to share information, ideas of, you know, good uh, good things you can get in marketing, or down here in Florida there's a lot of new construction, and that's a really good market to get involved in, and doing inspections for those, and just all sorts, anything. Yeah, so they can reach out. My email is robert@hopehomeinspections.com, and just reach out and, hey, I got a question about this, or and if you're interested in growing your business, I have a book list I recommend to people. I'm happy to share it with you. And readers are leaders. And
I love it, love it. Well,
I,
give us
I think
quickly, give us 5 books just off the top of your head, or
the
3.
great game of business is, I
Nice.
think, a really good book. I think the E Myth Revisited is a must for anybody that's
Yeah.
pulled up the book list.
Systems, all about systems.
I think there's an old book, Outwitting the Devil, is
Oh, yeah. What's the guy's name? What is
yeah,
that guy's name? Out with the book's great. It's How to Win. No, it's not Dale Carnegie. It's somebody like him though. I can't think
yeah,
of
it
it right
is.
now.
You're right. I should have the author up here, but I don't. Outwitting that. It's like it was written in the 1920s or something.
Yeah, no, it's a good book. Good book. And
Okay.
Scaling Up. I see you got that back there.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's another one. Go for No, I think, is a great little easy read. But I have a book list, and
Oh, awesome.
happy to share it with people. But yeah, readers are leaders. If you want to grow your business, then you need to start reading and educating yourself on different business practices, and um, so especially if you're an inspector and you're out in the field and you're driving a lot, there's 2 or 3 hours wasted time listening to Glenn Black radio or some other talk show or something. All you're doing is getting your blood pressure up. Put on a book on tape, and you
Windshield
know
University, baby.
that's it. That's
That's it.
it. And,
All right. So Robert at Hope Home Inspections, and he'll help you out. And Robert, you've been so gracious with your time. I appreciate it, and I know all the listeners appreciate it. So go like and follow his stuff. And if you did get something from him and you see him at a conference, buy him a beer. All right. Or ask him if you can sit down and buy a beer with him. That will be the most productive beer you ever bought. I promise.
I appreciate that. You're very
Well,
kind
thank you
word.
so much, Robert.
Thanks, Preston.
Have a good one.